Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulul Kareem. Amma ba'd. Welcome to the Daroon show. Let's get the show on the road as it is and get the mood in. Sheikh Ahmad Amir is here for you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها وهم لا يظلمون. قل إنني هداني ربي إلى صراط مستقيم دينا قيما ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين. قل أغير الله أبغي ربا وهو رب كل شيء ولا تكسب كل نفس إلا عليها ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى ثم إلى ربكم مرجعكم فينبئكم بما كنتم فيه تختلفون. وهو الذي جعلكم خلائف الأرض ورفع بعضكم فوق بعض درجات ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم إن ربك سريع العقاب وإنه لغفور رحيم. صدق الله العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Captain Caveman in the house. As you can see, my lovely background. Eid Mubarak, belated to you.
Alaikum wa rahmatullah. You'll never walk alone. Eid Mubarak. Always on time for you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Fantastic. And brother, as I got Jilik Milik background, you know, what's all the Jilik Milik? Is that the Eid Jilik Milik? Is that the Eid Jilik Milik?
It is a joyous occasion, and we should celebrate it, and we should let people know about it. How was your Eid, brothers and sisters? We want to hear about it. There's already some messages. But Kalam, do you want to just do the honorary things about the messages and the phone?
Of course. You can message us on the Facebook page, like you're doing. So we've got Jia Kabir saying Assalamu alaikum, and Timothy James is saying Mr. Azad needs to run for Prime Minister. I don't vote, but I surely will vote for brother Azad. Timothy James. And Faith Doyle is saying Eid Mubarak to you all. Of course, you can call us, and we would like to hear you. To call us is 020 it's 0207 or 0208 1234507. It's 0208. Yeah, 0208 1234507. That's the number. I'll get it memorized sooner or later.
How many times? Jazakallah khair, Timothy, for your vote of confidence. I mean, to be honest, you could put anyone up and they'll do 100% better job than Bojo. But there's an interesting messages. We want to hear about your Eid. So tell us, message us, or call us. And brothers and sisters, we are going to introduce. And next Friday we're going to do the first round, and then we're going to do the semi-finals, and then we're going to do a final. So today is going to be 1 minute round. Next week is going to be 1 minute. The people who are go through these two rounds, then will face us for 1.5 minutes, and the people who go through that, then we'll go into the final for a 2-minute showdown. And what's the prize, Kalam? What we're going to give these people?
Yeah, so this is actually an amazing. If I was them, right, I would actually really participate. So it's a meal, 3-course meal at a restaurant of our choice, right? You can go with a friend of yours. And guess who will be accompanying you for dinner, my dear brothers and sisters? That's right. Me, him, and him. Yeah? So the 3 of us, the 2 of you, we go for a munch, inshallah. Why not?
And then you pay the bill, of course. No, you pay the bill. We will pay the bill. So if you are interested, you know the number. Even though Kalam read it wrong, it is on your screen. It's 0208. Then what is it, Kalam?
It's 1234507.
Brilliant. Hold on, we're getting there. So, brothers and sisters, tell us, how was your Eid? Did you go and do an Eid Salah? How many of you? Come on, let's be honest. It doesn't matter. There are no rules now. Comings and Goings has made sure that we don't need to obey any rules and laws. And if we break them, then nothing will happen. We'll still get to keep our job and probably get a promotion. So. Some of you have seen in the gut, there was a Eid Jama, mashallah. I must say, the Brick Lane Mafia representing there, and just before, brothers, let me just get this in there. Before you have a goal, I know the 2-meter thing when they did shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet, mashallah. I've never seen a Jama where the shaitan could not get in at all. And so locked down, and the shaitan was unlocked, but he could not get into that Jama'at because the brothers were tight.
Yeah. No, exactly. And whatever Brick Lane can do, Stepney can do better, if not, the same level. Yeah. So Stepney, they did it in the gut. Stepney decided to do it in the car park of the estate. Yeah, poor little Betty and John is like, oh look, the neighbours are out.
Okay, all right. So, mashallah, all good. East London, a lot of get together, a lot of breaking the rules in doing the salah. I think Birmingham copied us as well. They got caught.
They got caught.
They got caught. It's big news. It's big news. Basically, with the council, one of the councils in Birmingham is actually doing the organisers for organising an Eid prayer outside.
Yeah, and like the field Muslims and the they've come out saying, oh, they've let the community down.
Let's just do a quick timeout here, because there's people putting comments on saying our lips have gone out of sync. Brothers and sisters, you don't really have to watch us as well. You can do the radio thing on the Vodcast comment. There should be a link. If you click the link, you can just listen. You don't have to see. So anyway,
It's nice to watch.
Well, sometimes they might not want to see, but you should watch. Look, I put a lot of effort in painting my walls.
Yeah, this is I'll tell you where that is. This is the Grand Bazaar, Istanbul. It's Mehmet's shop.
Isn't it? You know that.
It's Mehmet's shop. I swear down. It's Mehmet.
I put all this.
So my point is like, Birmingham broke the rules and did an Jamaat as well, and they got caught. And then the field Muslims come out saying, oh no, they're a letdown. Oh, how could they? Oh, we're so sorry. Please forgive us. Whereas half of Essex went to Southend.
No, no, it's not even just half of Essex. Half of Leicester. From the Midlands, from all over the country, people went and travelled. Like, what I mean? I mean, what happened to what was his name? Adil Raiz and Nadia and all of these people doing a video. Where were the videos to stop people going to the seaside? Hey, nothing was happening. So, brothers and sisters, forget what the government has to say. But on a serious note, whatever you do, don't download any apps that the government sends you. They're just going to be tracing you big time. Okay, if you
hang on a minute.
Well,
yeah,
you should have told us that a long time ago.
If you're ill, all you have to do is go to your GP, right? And then if the GP asks, they do the test and the contact trace and everything else. Okay, just say to the GP, this is the only people I've been contacting is you, okay? Boris Johnson, Dominic Cummings, what's his name?
Matt Hancock.
Matt Hancock. Something Rab. What was his first name?
Dominic Raab.
Oh, is it Dominic as well? There's
Dominic
two.
Raab, yeah. Dominic
Raab. Yeah.
And Sir Alex Ferguson.
No.
Yeah, just because
we can't do that.
If you're gonna lie, you might as well go all the way out, innit? And bring the old Sir Alex Ferguson in there as well.
Names, innit? Anyway, so. Lots of messages, Kalam. I think let's read some messages.
Yeah, lots and lots of messages. So yeah, a lot of people. And then this Jia Kabir says, "Salam Kailam. Do you remember me?" No, I don't. Who are you? And then Musa is saying, "Look, I don't care that it's lip syncing because I just listen to them like the good old days." Mia SK is saying, "I love the yes no game." So if you love the yes no game, play it. You get a chance to win. Like a free meal at a substandard restaurant with like 3 or minus hygiene points, but with the 3 of us, inshallah. So come along, call the number, play the yes no game. You get a free meal. Do you want to go Tayyib? Do you want to go to Nawab? Do you want to go to I don't know, the gourmet burger shop? If you do, you might not get there because depends on the budget. But yeah,
you know what? Actually, they can choose the restaurant, but it has to be a halal restaurant.
It has to be halal. And no alcohol served or no permitted alcohol in the shop.
Call us and let us know. Okay, so some of Timothy Jones, is that his name? Timothy Jones, James, rather. Yeah. Comments right at the beginning saying it's been a week and lots has happened. And to be honest, a lot has happened. There's so many stuff I want to kind of unload on, but I'm just a little bit worried we might just kind of blurt it out too quickly. So let's just start with the first thing, okay? There was a bit of a controversy about Shawwal fasting. So here we are, as far as we all know, and most people know, that, if you do the 6 Shawwal fasting, is reward, it's sunnah. It's recommended, and the reward is like it's as if you fasted the whole year, okay? And it's something that's been recommended and something people have said. But then a little bit of a controversy started to happen because Sheikh Akram Nadwi gave a response to a question, and in that response he said basically, that it's not really that recommended, and Abu Hanifa himself actually said it's makruh. And so it kind of caused a little bit of concern, and people started to get a little bit animated. So what was your take on this? Kalam?
Well, I've done 2 of my 6, so that's my position to start off with. But I'm like I can't say I'm a student of Sheikh Akram, but I love him, and we've studied with Sheikh Akram, and he is a scholar. The first thing to say is the man is a scholar. Everybody that's trying to debate him or trying to go against his opinion are at best students of knowledge, at worst internet warriors. Other scholars have actually said what he says is actually correct. The early generation.
You okay? Yeah, you okay?
I'm fine. It's just Shawwal fast is getting to me, you see, bruv. I want the reward for the whole year. No, seriously, the point is that Sheikh Akram is a scholar. Number one, Sheikh Akram is a scholar, alim. He knows what he's talking about. He's got his dalil, and his point is a little bit more nuanced than what people made it out to be. If you look at the arguments, and there's a fantastic piece by Sheikh Mufti Liaqut, and there's another comment by Sheikh Abu Isa Ni'matullah, and Sheikh Akram himself has put up a video, a question and answer, where he goes into a little bit more detail in terms of what he's talking about. So he's a scholar, he knows what he's talking about. And the actual fact is the early generation of Muslims, including the Sahaba, there's a question mark as to whether they practiced it like it's been practiced now. Like if you the recommendation is like it's almost mustahab, and all of that. So, but the final point, in my opinion, on this is that look, it's a matter of difference. It's a sunnah. Don't die over it, innit? Don't kill yourself over it.
Yeah, but Kalam, but if I do the 6 year, will I be getting the reward for the whole year?
Yeah, inshallah, why not? Innamal a'malu binniyya, innit?
Yeah.
Of course, why not? Yeah,
No, because obviously this is throwing me back a little bit, because I think I missed all that debate, and that this is news to my ears today.
To summarize it, okay, the Shafi'is and the Hanbalis are agreed that this is a sunnah, is a rewardful act, and it's recommended for you to do it, and if you do it, you get the reward as per the hadith. The Shafi'is and the Hanbalis. The Hanafis, the earlier Hanafi, i.e. the Hanafis from Imam Abu Hanifa and his students, there was a difference of opinion. Some said it was makruh. The majority of them said no, it's you should do it. The later scholars explained why there was a difference, and they said, oh, maybe the hadith didn't reach Imam Abu Hanifa, or maybe he was talking about the people who couldn't distinguish between Ramadan ending and Shawwal starting, and all of that stuff. So there's details to it, but the crux of the matter is, if you're going to fast, you've got a group of scholars that are backing you. If you're not going to do it, then you've also got some scholarly opinion that's backing you. So why have a war over it?
You don't need any backing, because like you said, it's sunnah. It's not a fard, so it's not like you're going to get sin if you don't do it. And to be fair, majority of the scholars, even Hanafis, they say it's fine to do it. So I hope you guys are going to do it, and I hope
yeah, but my point is, who won't do it? If you get the reward for the whole year,
exactly.
Who won't want to do it? I mean,
it's hard, isn't it? It's long days. I did it on Thursday, and it was harder than Ramadan. It was harder than Ramadan.
You did 30 Ramadan fasts, and that didn't affect you. And and Brother Azad's cycling 20 miles, doing his fast as well. So
Shaitan is out now.
25, yeah, 25.
Shaitan's out now, and the kids are eating in front of you, and then
Well, that's more of a test, isn't it? Because that's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to actually be tempted. People make cooking food in front of you. People eating. I think you got to really. It's a test, isn't it? After Ramadan, all that training, can you really put it in? I think 6 is another good test. You got to try how to do it.
Definitely. It is a good test. So basically, if I go back to the thingy bobs. Jia Kabir, who says, do I recognize him, is telling me Poplar College table tennis. So I think I know who you are, brother. Assalamu alaikum. Nice to acquaint ourselves again.
And can you apologize to him now for being rude?
I wasn't rude. I just didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been quiet and said, okay, let me work out who he is.
Well, if I'm absolutely honest, I still don't know who he is, but don't tell him all. Don't tell him who you. Faith is saying, I'm not fond of our current government and their total failure, but it's Labour all the way for her, right? However, I want Cummings done. What? However, I want Cummings done, and he had the means to do this is fine because he had an issue. He probably lied about it and just wanted to go there. I feel like he's done it. We should just leave it and move on. I think that's what she's saying.
I don't know. Faith, is that what you're saying? If not, you need to either write that again or call us. Don't worry, we're not going to trap you into a yes/no game.
Yeah, but the people look. There's a lot of you watching. Alhamdulillah, we're playing the yes/no game. It's a competition. If you win, you get a chance to go out on to dinner with us and a friend or family member with you. So three of us, we go and we have a meal, we catch up, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
So the number to dial for that is 0208 1234 507.
Okay.
Get dialing, guys.
So call in. It's nice and simple. We're going to do it over a few weeks, inshallah. So let's get those callers in. Come on, don't be scared. What happened to the bravery of our callers? And look, you know what? We'll make it easy as well, right? You can choose which presenter asks you the question.
No, don't ask me, yeah, because I got
okay,
clue about this.
Actually, why don't we do a practice run? Right, Abdul?
Who?
Me and you. Right?
This is such a difficult game. I got dyslexia. Yeah, I won't be able to think on my spot.
Dyslexia, right? You don't think, right? Okay, ready? It starts now. Is your name Abdul?
Zanina.
What happened to your English?
Well, you said I can't say yes or no. I mean, you need to set the rules up first.
You can answer. It has to be a language that we understand. You can answer. Okay. Have you got grey hair?
Gina.
Gina, it's not. Oh my God. Okay.
Throw another one then.
All right. You know what? I love it. Right, Kalam, you go on me.
All right, are you ready?
I'm going to do my best, brother.
Okay, so Bismillah. Okay, so we're playing the yes/no game. It's a trial run so people understand what it's all about. Isn't that right?
Yep, it's a trial run.
We're giving people, we're giving people...
Yeah, there you done. You said yeah. I'm the one, take me on.
Yeah, so Kalam will do these things as well, right? So this is just an example of how it works. Okay, you basically get the idea. We ask you a question. You have to avoid saying yes or no or or stuttering or repeating. You can say like maybe once, but you can't repeat maybe twice. That's it.
Yeah, you can't repeat, yeah. So Khaled, call in. Let's see if it goes. He says there's a bit of a delay, but call in anyway, brother. Let's try it out. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. Inshallah. And Jabi Kabir, actually Kabir, I'm only joking. I do know who you are. It's been 24 years, so I wasn't expecting you to remember me. Mashallah, you still look the same. What does it say? That text there? What does it say?
Yeah. Mashallah, you still look the same. What you say is you still got the acne spots, bruv.
Yeah, you know that, bruv, because I'm still like living my teens, innit?
Right.
Everybody's finding Abdul Bai very funny. And Abdullah Hassan, sorry, were you going to read Abdullah Hassan's thing?
Yeah, you say what you're doing online. Is it still Ramadan?
Yeah, we thought we were not, innit? Everybody's...
Hey, you got the caller.
Go for it. Assalamualaikum, caller.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Who's this?
Khaled, Mr. Organized.
Mr. Organized. So you're going to play the yes-no game, yeah?
I want to play, but I'm worried there's a delay on the phone. Delay should be fine, right? Long as I don't say the 2 words.
Yeah, delay. Listen, if you're on the phone, there's not going to be no delay. As long as you're not listening to us on the broadcast, it'd be fine.
That's correct.
Okay, let's play. Bismillah.
So who do you want your competition against?
Go on, Kalam. That's it. Give it to him.
No, I ain't chosen you.
Khaled.
Pick up Dubai. Go on. Pick up Dubai.
No, Don't pick me. Don't pick me. Yeah.
I said, you guys pick someone. I'll be ready to answer when you tell me to start.
Oh, it's a challenge. Go on, Kalam.
Okay, right. Okay, so let me get my clock up.
Yep, tick-tock.
Cha.
Right, stopwatch. Okay, so Kalam, you do it.
Okay.
All right, Khaled, you ready?
I'm ready.
Right.
Starts
Let's
now.
go. Okay, Bismillah. You ready, Khaled?
I'm ready.
Okay, you mustn't hesitate. That's the other one. Do you understand the rules?
I understand the rules. I'm just worried about the delay, but I understand.
No, don't worry about the delay. Okay, let's go. How many kids do you have, Khaled?
I don't have any children.
How come?
Qadar Allah.
Are you not married?
I'm not married at the moment.
Did you say you're not married?
I'm single at the moment.
How come you're single, brother, a dashing lad like you?
Pardon?
Sorry?
I'm single. Is a long story.
We got time, bruv. Go on, tell me.
Subhanallah. What do you mean?
Don't
I'm
laugh
not
now.
gonna
Why are
say
you
this on the
hesitating? Why are you
show.
hesitating?
I can't say this on the show.
Of
It's
course you
private.
can, but please don't hesitate. If you hesitate, you're going to lose. You understand?
Ding, 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 ding.
He did well. He did well.
Guys, Khaled.
Alhamdulillah.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Khaled, you beat Kalam, and Kalam is a hard one to beat.
Well, you know what it is? It's the
Subhanallah.
delay, man. There's a delay on this. You know, he's got like ample time to think. He's actually written down his answers and done a spell check on it, and then
Well, okay, but listen, it is what it is. So Khaled, you are going to go to through to the next round, inshallah.
But Khaled, Mom, how come you're not married, bro?
No. Let's not get back onto that. That was the yesterday game, right? Is there anything you want to say, brother, before we move on?
Pardon?
The game is over. You can. You've won.
Yeah. Shall I hang up? What do I do? Should I hang up?
Yeah, if you hang up, and Khaled, just remember, we need to get your details, all right, so that we know. So, on our EasyTalk page, if you message us with your name and phone number, inshallah, we'll have that for the next round, yeah?
Okay. Jazakallah khair.
Okay.
There you go. That went well, didn't it?
Yeah, that was bad. Khaled did really well.
Khaled did very good.
Well, I must say.
Tough personal questions, but he did good, yeah.
Kalam was lame, man. You were rubbish, Kalam. You were hard.
Do you know what it was? I was trying to lure him in. Yeah. Because the delay it's the delay, bro. Honestly, it's not me. I'm still the master of this game, but it's the delay. We're 24 years on, I still look the same, innit?
Yeah.
So I can't get that.
Okay.
Such a compliment.
So, brothers and sisters, we're just gonna have a short nasheed break. I think it'd be a good idea. Let's get ourselves into, because one of the things we want to talk about that is happening. Kalam was really desperate to bring this up. Go on, Kalam.
What's that?
Oh wait, I would have called, but I would have to bring my husband and 2 kids with me. No, that's fine. Bring your husband and 2 kids, Musa. That's fine.
That's fine.
Family thing.
You're paying for it.
No, don't worry. What are the kids gonna eat?
Yeah, maybe their thumbs, Musa. Nudge, nudge.
No, cool. Don't worry about it. If you obviously got family, that's fine. That's not a problem. But children, yeah, don't call us and bring your adult kids.
I'm about forget quarantine. It's a free meal.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, don't
so
do it.
anyway, Kalam's got something burning that's going on. What's going on?
Yeah. Look. Can we mention the chant? We can, innit?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen this little clip of like British Muslim TV, BMTV. Yes, British Muslim. It tells you what it's about. It's a Muslim TV station by British Muslims. And so they're doing this, they do this 24-hour fundraiser thing. So there's 2 presenters and they think they're off air. Sorry, not offline. They think they're off air. And they're chatting away. And you know, like as soon as the lights go red and you're on live on air, they're all like Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Mashallah, Mashallah, brother, Mashallah, Alhamdulillah. But then like when they're talking really sleazy about sisters and like almost misogynic. What's the word? what's that word again? Misonic. Misogynist. Misogynistic. That's the one. Misogynist. They're talking like women bashers, man. You know, like rubbing shoulders against a woman, and these women come and serve us, and this and that. And how can people behave like that? Why do?
Okay, I think look, you've said your thing. I think let's put the facts out there. Basically. It was, I think it was early on in Ramadan that it happened, and it was an all-night show. Basically, they thought they were off air, and then they were making comments. And the comments was very derogatory towards sisters, and with a sexual kind of slant to it. And really, any time from anyone is unacceptable. For it to happen by brothers who are on a television channel in Ramadan raising money is really unforgivable. But I think, look, that's one thing. And these two brothers, they need to apologize unconditionally. There's no ifs, there's no buts, you have no excuse for what you have done. You should just apologize, full stop. But the television channel, it needs to also kind of get its act together, because it's digging itself into a bigger hole. So first of all, it issued a really nonsensical and rubbish kind of on-air apology.
Clarification,
clarification. It was post-watershed. So what if it's post-watershed? Why are you acting like you're not a Muslim television channel? All month you've been raising money from Muslims, crying Quran and Sunnah and playing on Muslims, and all of a sudden when someone complains, you become secular, and it was post-watershed. It doesn't matter what time of the day it was. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning, it could be 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You cannot, as a Muslim broadcaster, allow that to have happened and not apologize unconditionally. And I don't understand why they just don't.
Were these brothers staff members of the channel, or were they?
That's the further clarification. So after saying it's after the watershed, they then went on to say, "Oh, by the way, they're not even staff. They don't work for us."
Okay, they're on the TV. They're on the TV. So they have responsibility.
They were sitting on their sofas and they were wearing like their T-shirts and stuff like that. And these two guys, especially, they've been on there for years. As far as I can remember, I don't watch the channel anyway because I'm on another channel. Anyway. I just think, but the problem's a little bit deeper as well, though. And if we have a frank discussion about, it's like,
first of all, like in British Muslim TV, Kalam's frozen. Kalam, stop freezing. You're freezing. Like, turn your other things off. Whatever you got on your laptop, turn it off. Stop it.
It's the Liverpool T-shirt, I think.
Yes, I think you need to destroy that. Okay, so what they did is then, like, to make things worse, British Muslim TV then privately is sending messages to certain sisters. And one of the messages it sent was by the same two presenters, except one of them was speaking, not the one who was making the sexually inappropriate comment, the other presenter. He basically went on to hide your brother's sins, and then he even had the kind of audacity to quote Quran. Do you get it? And make like the people who complained as if they've done something wrong. Like, how do you hide your? How am I going to hide your sin, brother, when it was on live TV? Well, this is what, even though they were offline during that break on the actual television broadcast, the whole thing got played online. That's how it got leaked. Otherwise, no one else would know. Right? So instead of the television channel apologizing, like I said, unconditionally, they said this to the sisters. Can you imagine now these sisters are getting more riled up? I can, you know what it is? I can see the frustrations. I'm seeing it on my Facebook. I'm seeing it on my Twitter. I'm seeing it in so many different groups. And I can totally understand Like, you know, and all I can say is obviously whoever is behind British Muslim TV and doing these messages is definitely a bloke, right? He's getting it so wrong. He's getting this so wrong. And then to kind of add fuel to the fire, right? Even more. Then they kind of advertise that they're going to do a show. Like, I think they advertised they were going to do the show yesterday or something like that. 9 p.m. we're going to do a special show on this incident and etc. etc. It's like almost trying to capitalize on it. Like, yeah, we're going to get viewers and whatever it is. And then they cancelled it.
Yeah, they basically went one better than Dominic Cummings, isn't it? So Dominic Cummings makes a big mistake. Everybody knows it's a mistake. Only he thinks it's not a mistake, and the people that are very close to him think it's not a mistake. Then he says, you know what? I'm going to call a press conference, and I'm going to explain myself, and people are going to see from my point of view. He calls a press conference, and he turns up an hour late, keeping people waiting. Whereas these guys, they don't even turn up at all. But the point is, has Abdul frozen now? Abdul, blink, man, you're scaring me.
It's good at just.
I'm just thrown back with all this. I mean, I've missed a lot in this 1 week or whatever, 2 weeks.
Abdul, do you know what was actually said? The words. I mean,
no. But this is told.
All right. You know what? I'll tell you later. But subhanallah. Anyway, it is
because I don't watch that TV and.
Look, a lot of people are saying that there are some comments here, yeah, like Abu Musa is saying khobi sokhol, yeah, and then Abu Musa is saying Aki, the brother, Jakir is saying name and shame the show. Well, we have it's BMTV, and Zubayd is saying thank you for bringing this up. It's a very important subject. Sick fools, no excuse for that on live TV. And Faith is saying I can't hear.
Why can't you hear? Can everyone else hear? I'm sure people can hear. If let us know on the messages if you can hear us or not, brothers and sisters. So I think, look, mistakes. People make mistakes and all of that kind of stuff, and I'm willing to forgive. But there is, like, you know, you mentioned earlier, Kalam, there is a deeper issue here, which is how men.
Sorry, Brother Azhar, that's not a mistake, because that's just the personality or the character or how they feel about this. Yeah, and they kind of said it when it's live, so it's actually kind of the truth has gone out, you know, in the public arena. It's not like
they didn't know it was live. That's the thing. The thing is
but look, you got to understand. So if they call it the Freudian slip, isn't it?
That's what it is. Yeah,
that's what it is. So it's basically, you know, it's what you believe and what you understand. You got caught off guard, basically. So that it tells us what your value is, what your mindset is. All that. See, now people will make that kind of assessment and that judgment. And I think the TV channel has got a bit of responsibility, and they should have apologised straight away. But they've allowed to linger this on as though they're okay with it.
Yeah. No. Go on.
The thing is, you'd kind of not expect, but you kind of expect this from. Muslims from a certain background, right? Traditionally, people who are a little bit more literalist in their approach, who have a little bit more of a, you not expect, but the stereotypical person who would hold these views are these. They fit this profile, a bit more Salafist, a bit more Asian, whatever it is. But this is British Muslim TV, which allows for it's very, very relaxed, very liberal, if you like, setup where and people are on that platform saying these kind of things. My thing is that it's a concern because there's a big movement within the Muslim community to feminize Islam, to take a feministic stance to the Islamic ideology.
Before you get there, Kalam, before you get there, because look, it's not about taking sides. It's about, look, brothers and sisters. Some of you guys who've been listening to us for donkey's years, you know what our values are and where we come from on this. Okay, so don't misunderstand us in this conversation. The first thing, Kalam, we have to establish is justice, right and wrong, is only from the Quran and Sunnah. Okay, we have no other source, no other criteria, nothing else is acceptable to us. Khalas, that is it. That's the first thing. The second thing is what Abdul was talking about. We have to address this underlying issue where brothers look at sisters as objects, and kind of, objectify them. They dehumanize them, and they think they have some right to treat them in the way they do. Now, none of this stuff is from Islam. So, for example, how culturally, like, lot of us are Bengali, a lot of people watching are Bengali, maybe not everyone, but culturally, we bring with the baggage of Asian subcontinent culture, the Indian culture, where the man was placed higher than the woman and everything else. In Islam, the man is not higher than the woman, right? They're just different. That's all it is. Allah has given the man certain responsibilities, and He's given the woman certain responsibilities. But the thing that matters the most to all Muslims is how Allah sees your deeds, how Allah sees your worship, and that is equal for everyone.
And that's why in Ramadan, we were all campaigning and competing for increasing our taqwa, and taqwa is equal to everybody. There's no difference in attaining taqwa. But like I said, you're going to have those views out there. So what happened? So
hang on a minute. So Faisal Mahmood is saying maybe they were just joking around, not saying that it's right. I've not seen the video or what they said, so it's difficult to say. But that's the point. The fact that maybe they didn't mean it and it was just a joke and a banter, that is the point, though. That's the deeper issue that you shouldn't. It's a no-go area to joke about like that.
Yeah, you don't talk about. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. As Muslims, there's a thing called ird. You protect the honor of people. And to speak about a female like that, or in that tone, in that manner, to talk about, like, the illegal mixing of men and women in a flippant way, in a normalizing way, this is not from the adab of the Muslim, and that's the problem. So can I go there now? The feminism thing that I was going to say.
Yeah. So now we get to the feminist bit.
Yeah. So my worry is there is a bit of a movement that's trying to take advantage of some of these issues. A man is allowed to marry 4 women. Why do you need 2 witnesses? Why can't a woman lead the prayer? Blah blah blah. All of those stuff. They pick on issues that we have legitimate answers, and there's strong narrative to it, but because they think that these are the inroads into the women of the ummah. They can take the women of the ummah and they can confuse them. They can implant ideas that are actually not from our religion, not from our theology or philosophy, and misguide lots of ladies. And that's why you're getting many more women who kind of understand why a woman should be able to lead the khutbah, and why all of those things, why the inheritance of a woman should be half of the same as that of the man, and so on and so forth. And this kind of attitude, this kind of treatment of our women and sisters feeds into that kind of narrative and supports it.
It facilitates the sisters, and like, in anything, when there's injustice, and it's not being dealt with and it's swept under the carpet, then what happens is you become vulnerable. So, like, an injustice has happened to me. I've gone to Kalam and Abdul, said, look, bro, this is what's happened to me. And they're like, oh, you know what, just be patient, it'll be okay, and everything else. And I'm feeling hurt, destroyed, devastated here. And they're just like almost brushing me under. Then the third person comes, you say, look, you know what, I told you, these guys, they're just Islamists, right? They don't have your interest. They're like trying to protect this, whatever it is. Look, this is totally wrong. This is what we should do. And they're going to genuinely try to help you. But what they're doing is they've already started to create a rift between you and your deen. And this is really, really important. That's why the first thing is we have to have zero tolerance on this. Zero tolerance. There is no, the brothers, look, we have to take it upon ourselves a lot more to call this stuff out. Like, for example, one of the things I wanted to know about BMTV is the people, these guys were not on air at that time, right? But when they said it, it was like, did anyone at that television station hear them say it? If they did, what did they do about it? Okay? And why wasn't it took a whole month, like, for them to come in with an apology, and they only came with the apology because the thing got leaked. But what happened? No one challenged it. Now, if I'm a sister, I'm thinking, wow, like these guys, these men, right? You know what it is? That when they can get away with it, when they think they can get away with things, They'll do and say whatever they want. It's only when they get caught then they all act, oh, I'm really sorry, all this, that, and the other. And how are you going to blame the sisters for having that view? Because you're actually showing that view. So BMTV need to just come out openly and say, if they did, if the producer on that night, the cameraman on that night, the sound person on that night, whoever's in the studio on that night, did they challenge that brother? I don't even know his name. Did they challenge him when he said that? That's number one. If they didn't, then that's something that they need to be held to account for. And there needs to be a proper communication given that when you see these kind of things, you stamp it out there and then. The second thing is, okay, why have these people not apologized there and then? Like, you've done something wrong, okay? Like, I've done something wrong. Why are you not apologizing? Like, he should have apologized to the other, like, one of them only said it. The other brother never said it, right? But he should have apologized. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. That's really wrong of me. He should have apologized to the studio technicians or whoever else is there. Why didn't he even do that? Because it's okay. Because there's a culture amongst brothers that it's okay to do this thing. Okay? And I think if you and me, I'm talking to the men here, if we don't let other men know that you talk like that and we're just going to bite your head off completely, you're not going to even be allowed to stand. You cannot talk. Until we can give this thing, the sisters are not going to feel like, we're taking it seriously.
But to be like, it's I guess playing devil's advocate. How many brothers are willing to do that? Like, how many brothers, you are. Yeah, but
and Abdul is, and
you've been tamed, bruv. You know what I'm saying?
No,
but what I mean is, like, in the mosques, yeah, in the back roads, in the mosques or in the hoods, in the streets, yeah, the boys ain't gonna be like, they're gonna be like, oh man, that boy's under his wife's thumb, or like he's getting bullied by the women and that. Innit? That's what they're gonna say. A lot of people, because the thing is, like, to be a man, to be macho, to be mujahid, all of that stuff, you have to be, there's a certain character, there's a certain picture drawn of these men, which is strong, powerful, opinionated.
Kalam. Being strong, being powerful isn't abusing sisters and mothers. And, so there's a big difference between being powerful, being strong, being a shield, being a leader. All those things are good.
When you sorry, Abdul, go on. No, I was saying, when you do these things to others, right? When you belittle others, like, you're just nothing but a bully, right? You know what I mean? Like, how is it? Like, yes, we look, a lot of us joke around, and we also know sometimes when the joke goes a bit too far, right? We know that, but that's just joking around about something like the sun, or coronavirus, or Eid Salah and things like that. We're not joking about a person's body. Do you get it?
Let me just put this out there. So one of our viewers is saying BMTV view is not being represented here. It's important to hear the other side. I guess is what he's suggesting. Well, they're free to call in.
No, it doesn't have to be represented here. First of all, we're not a regulated broadcast here. Yeah, we're just on Facebook, three guys having a chat. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is, BMTV has been given ample chance, right, to do this. And whoever that person is, if you know anyone at BMTV, just ping them our link and then get them to call us. Read some messages, Kalam.
Yeah, so there's other messages here. The TV studio is full of staff. Are they then all the same? Feeling confident to talk about such filth on a live TV platform is very worrying. It's not just the two presenters, it's all of them in the studio. We don't know if people have heard the conversation, because people are in the VT room and all of that, and they may not have live feeds, and the audio might be switched off. There's many excuses we can give for others, and the setup for not knowing and not stopping them there and then.
But yeah, once if you hear it, that's fine.
Yeah, but once it's come out, the actions of BMTV post it coming out, trying to squirm out of it, distancing themselves from the presenters and not taking ownership.
Nasima's written a really important. She captures what I've been seeing from so many sisters. Use of the Deen for their so-called apology was despicable. The height of gaslighting, no remorse, only for being caught and called out. Yes. This is it. And now, can you imagine, like, you know, these secularists who hate Islam and Muslims, right? How they're going to take advantage of me when this happens to me, when I feel like, you know, this is how I've been treated. It's like
so Abu Musa, who's obviously watched the clip, is saying the fast got to them. Instead of weakening their desires, that unfortunate night increased them both in desire. Must have been something in that yogurt drink they had. So they were drinking a yogurt drink, and they were joking about it being off and it being, you know, whatever. So I watched the clip, and I think, you know, it's a shame. It's disappointing. It's sad what's happened, but alhamdulillah, there's always, you know, there's always.
Some people are going to say, Kalam, that we've come down so hard on these two brothers, and we've come down so hard on BMTV. They're going to say that.
They will, yeah.
What I say to these people is, brother, if we don't come down, or sister, if we don't come down hard now, then when do we come down hard? This hasn't happened just today. This hasn't happened just last month or last year. It's been going on for a very long time. We are completely pushing people away from our deen by being, I don't know what the word is. You know, what word would you use to when people like get busted? Okay, listen, we're all sinful, right? But there's consequences of that. Like none of us here, like you watching and us, none of us are angels, right? We all make mistakes.
You know, but Rasul Sallallahu said that every one of you are sinners, but the best of sinners are the ones that repent. And this is, subhanAllah, this is gold dust. Rasul, the Prophet acknowledged our humanity. We'll make mistakes, we'll do something wrong, but we have to acknowledge, and we have to repent, and we have to reform ourselves.
You have to change your attitude.
Yeah, you have to.
You change your attitude.
Hey, get the food on. Get the washing machine done. Sorry, bro. Yeah.
Get the washing machine done.
Yeah. Get the washing. Yeah, the washing is broken. They need to fix it.
I'm not used to talking like that at all.
As a good attempt. Yeah.
You know who the boss is in your house, bro. Don't worry about that. No, but you know, changing the attitude. What I mean is like, one is obviously this kind of sexist views of women we have to change, right? That's one thing. The second thing we have to change is the attitude that says to us that, you know, when these things happen, the best way to deal with them is to hide them, cover them, and everything else. And we get that from the kind of hadith and the teaching that, you know, we should cover each other's sins. Definitely. So if I see, like, you know, one of you do something and what I shouldn't do, what the hadith means is that when I see you doing something that is wrong, what I shouldn't do is then go and say, oh, Kalam Abjul, do you know what? I saw X, Y, Z, and this is what they were doing. This is what it means. That I don't do that.
Can I get a clarification on this? You know that hadith, yeah? Is it when you catch someone sinning privately? Yeah, because there is a big difference when they're sinning privately, and then you expose that, and when they're sinning publicly. Is it the same or is no same?
No. I think that's the point Azabah was going to make, that if the sin is done privately, the nasiha and the reprimand should be done privately. You shouldn't expose a brother when he or she, or a sister when he or she is committing a sin privately. But there are so many, you know, about enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, and there are so many conditions. So, for example, if there's a sin that's being committed privately, but it's affecting other people in a general way, more than just themselves individually, then there's another ruling to it. Then you're allowed to go public to it. So there's degrees to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Give you an example. So, for example, let's say someone like openly drinking alcohol, but is remorseful. He knows it's wrong, but is still drinking openly. Another one is drinking openly, but he loves promoting it as well. He tells his friend, oh, this is good, why don't you drink it as well? But he's not willing to accept that, look, this is haram and he shouldn't be doing it. Is that the same?
Yeah, no. So one is, look, we're all sinful, and we pray that we get the strength to stop our sins, right? And that's it. But once you start promoting the sin, and certain sins in particular, and normalizing them, then what you do is you commit an act of kufr. And then what you do is you start leaving the deen. That's what happens. So there's degrees. So like Kalam was saying, look, there's things that happen in public that need to be corrected in public, because it's not the injury didn't just happen amongst those people. It injured the community, and that's why a leader, and whoever's in charge in that community, they would kind of fix it in the open, so that because the community was injured, there could be some recovery and justice.
Because what we forget is we're all role models. Anybody who's in the public domain, public sphere, if they're speaking to an audience, if they're doing reminders, if they're on TV, people take them as examples and as role models. So there are many, many young people or old people that have watched this and think that's a legitimate way of talking about women, and it's a legitimate way of joking. This is bearded brothers, Islamic brothers who are quoting Quran and Sunnah, raising money for sadaqah and zakat, and they joking like this, then therefore it's allowed. Ignorant people who don't know the religion very well, they'll say, okay, this is allowed, he's doing it, Abdullah's doing it. So and that's why we need to have a public dressing down of that issue. Okay, obviously, look, may Allah forgive the brothers, may they see the wrong of their ways, may they repent, may the damage that they've caused be removed and all of that, of course. But they need to be taken into account. The station needs to be taken into account, and the wrong needs to be addressed and redressed. Otherwise, it's going to be problematic, isn't it? And it's actually festering online on social media. It's festering.
I'm seeing, like in some social media groups, I'm seeing how this is now being kind of hijacked by prevent wallahs, like people who are already harming our communities. Prevent wallahs and feminists, they're already getting into hijacking this. Do you get it? There's people who have no love for our deen and they're hijacking it. And these guys, BMTV and these people, they're just facilitating that hijacking. So, my plea, I've told BMTV directly, that through Twitter and everything else, that just do an unconditional apology.
Absolutely. Going back to this has caused a number of discussions on the forum. It's nice to see it hot. We need you to call in and play the yes, no, and game, by the way. We've had one person. He's gone through to the next round. It seems like it's going to be quite easy because there's a delay. So why don't you call in as well? But Faisal is saying what this kind of thing does is that it creates these feminist movements and causes more issues like women-only mosques and so on and so forth. Some people are asking for the footage to be posted, the link of the footage, so they can see and catch up. There's been a little bit of a ding-dong between Abu Musa and Zubaydah, but I think they sorted it out in the end. So alhamdulillah, it's good to see. Innamal mu'minuna ikhwatun fa aslihu bayna akhawaykum, innit? Like, you are brothers and you should rectify and build the brotherhood. Musa writes a long piece. No, I haven't come down. No, you haven't come down hard, because at the end of the day, if women were on air doing the same, we would be ostracized from society. There would never be any. They've had a weak moment or make excuses for their sins. Unfortunately, there is this problem in society. We make exceptions for brothers and not for sisters. My non-Muslim neighbors get shocked that my husband cooks in the house. He does? No, I'm joking. And that he's a better cook than me. He is.
Obvious. Look, you know what? I don't even know why we need to talk about this. The best cooks are men. And that's why women are cooks and men are chefs.
Exactly. How many Michelin star chef women are there? None, like.
All
anyway.
of us said before, I'm done with that comment.
Look, you're being misogynistic again, bro. Please stop it. If I tell Muslims that my husband cooks, they'll be like, judge me as a wife. The Prophet ﷺ had respect for women, and he said the best of you are those who are the best to their wives. Call it Muslim culture rather than Islamic culture. Yeah, and Faisal is saying the second drinker in Abdul Bai's example, the second drinker of alcohol you mentioned is close to disbelief. Be careful not to make takfir.
It's just an example. But yeah, if you promote, if you say, especially major sins, if you're saying it's okay to do these things and there's nothing wrong, it is a clear act of kufr.
If you believe that something that Allah has categorically made haram, if you believe it to be allowed, if you encourage and promote it, and if you disregard the prohibition that God and his Prophet put on it, then that is very close to kufr. In fact, the scholars say this is an act of kufr, but we're being cautious because you don't want to label somebody kafir or something kufr.
No,
So
no,
that's
exactly.
be careful is what we're saying.
Yeah, no. If it was an individual discussion, I wouldn't have even said that. But you know that look, the chef thing. Go and check on my Facebook story. I think it's on my Facebook story or in my Insta somewhere message. Right, go and see the curry I cooked a few days back, man. It was banging, bruv. You know what I called it?
What do you call it?
Zal beef buna.
I cooked a chicken curry today.
MashaAllah.
Just to say, like the best sous chefs are is Aziz Bhai. Nasima Ali saying, name and shaming him. Aziz Bhai, honestly, you know.
At me, bruv.
Somebody said about me giving my wife a washing machine. He gives it. You gave her a washing machine. She should wash by hand.
Yeah. Anyway.
Nasheed break, brother.
All that Nasiha, right? Just they went that. Now look, joking. There's a little amount of joke. It's okay. It's fine. We know it's this thing, but please, brothers and sisters, if you, especially brothers, actually not sisters, okay? I've got different advice for the sisters. Brothers, if you see other brothers demean, dehumanize, objectify women, okay? If you see that, they don't have to be Muslim women, right? I'm talking about women. If you see that, please just ask them to stop. Just say, brother, please stop, and try to give them nasiha. If the worst case scenario is you need to walk away from that, okay? But we have to start doing this, okay? Sisters, when you see these things happen, okay, don't feel that you're alone in this, okay? There are others that are there, and come to deal with this in a way that is befitting what our religion is, okay? So let's just make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, it's not what these brothers done that's going to stop me from going to paradise or make me go to hell. It's going to be what I do, okay, at the end of the day. So we got to remember our reaction to what other people do have to be in line so that we don't fall out and get ourselves into bigger trouble. I think we've been talking for ages.
Hold on. Before you go, there's a controversial statement There's a controversial statement made by Nazma Begum Ali. I'm going to name and shame. If we women didn't teach you men to cook, you wouldn't be chefs, she says.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, I don't think it's controversial. I think you're right. And it's a case of where the student becomes the master.
I ain't learned from no woman.
Yeah, that's right. That's why no one ate your chicken curry.
Can I just say one thing? What I think Azerbaijan made the point, but in Islam, Allah does not, you know, when it comes to judging a person and deciding whether he or she goes to Jannah, it's not whether you're a man or a woman that matters. It's not. It really isn't. What matters is your sincerity and your commitment to Allah. And this is why in the Quran you have a long passage in Surah Tawbah where Allah says, "Verily the believing men and the believing women, the fasting man and the fasting woman, the fearful of Allah man and the fearful of Allah woman." And he, you know, all of the acts of ibadah he attributed to men and women, meaning the potential to excel is both open for men and women. And it's those that excel and worship Allah that get his forgiveness and the Jannah, not whether you're a man or a woman.
And that is different from who can cook better, who can play football better, who can kind of like decorate better, who can. So the competition isn't really on those earthly type of things, but it's on the spiritual side of things, yeah?
Definitely.
Very simple, isn't it? Very simple.
Just for Hushiar, yeah, Hushiar, the beef is not in the freezer, bruv. It doesn't need to be in the freezer, you know, or the fridge. You know why? Because I've already eaten it.
It's done.
It's done. I don't cook for it to be stored in the freezer. That's one thing. Second thing is, bruv.
Now, if you've seen that video, of the lambs, you know, you know, the lamb video. Yeah, well, Azerbaijan's looking for the next cow. All right.
All I'm saying is, Hushiar, read my name. Just read my name. Right, let's play a nasheed, brothers and sisters. It's been ages, right? And I think first show back after Ramadan, we'll have to go to Al-Ardu.
Yep.
الأرض والشطآن والبحر الأرض والشطآن والبحر في غزة الشماء تستعير والشعب يمضي للمنى قدما والشعب يمضي للمنى قدما والحور في الجنات تنتظر الأرض والشطآن والبحر في غزة الشماء تستعر والشعب يمضي للمنى قدما والحور في الجنات تنتظر والحور في الجنات تنتظر الأرض والشطآن والبحر في غزة الشماء تستعر والشعب يمضي للمنى قدما والحور في الجنات تنتظر والحور في الجنات تنتظر والطفل يرسي في العلا مجدا ومجدهم يهوي ويندثر والطفل يرسي في العلا مجدا ومجدهم يهوي ويندثر لا تعجبوا فالطفل معجزة لا تعجبوا أطفالنا كبروا لا تعجبوا أطفالنا كبروا الأرض والشطآن والبحر في غزة الشماء تستعر والشعب يمضي للمنى قدما والحور في الجنات تنتظر والحور في الجنات تنتظر والقدس صاحت من مادنها هلا عدت الفتح يا عمر والقدس صاحت من مادنها هلا عدت الفتح يا عمر والمسجد الأقصى وحرمته قدسها السفاك والقدر قدسها السفاك والقدر الأرض والشطآن والبحر في غزة الشماء تستعر والشعب يمضي للمنى قدما والحور في الجنات تنتظر والحور في الجنات تنتظر كنتم بنفح الله علما لما ابتعدتم داسكم كفر كنتم بنفح الله علما لما ابتعدتم داسكم كفر عودوا إلى الماضي وعزته عودوا ففي أحشائه عبروا عودوا ففي أحشائه عبروا الأرض والشطآن والبحر في غزة الشماء تستعر والشعب يمضي للمنى قدما والحور في الجنات تنتظر والحور في الجنات تنتظر ثوروا وروا الأرض أنوارا نحن الدجى وأنتم القمر.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, welcome back. Obviously, that was one half of the game, and very serious one. Alhamdulillah, it needs to be done. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be. If it's done on public platform, then obviously there needs to be people need to be held to the account, and that goes for all of us. I think we need to learn lessons from this. Anyone who's going to be in front of the public, everyone's going to be accessing the public as well. We need to be held to account, and we get it. We get it. I got it. And why can't we have it in the Muslim community as well? What I would like to do, if the brother's okay with it, I want to just move the discussion a little bit forward. There's something really, really important that's really, really agitating me. Really, really, I was deeply saddened. I just couldn't do anything about it because I was watching it live on well, not live, but the image came in, and I saw this black man. You know, his head was underneath a police officer's knees, and I thought to myself, what the hell is he doing to him? What is he doing to him? Yeah, there were people shouting and screaming, saying, "Look, he can't breathe, he can't breathe." But this police officer did not take no notice. Even the gentleman, George Floyd, he himself was saying, "Look, I can't breathe, I can't breathe." Look, I know that situation, yeah. I know how to restrain people as well. I'm just thinking, was it intentional murder that took place, yeah? Because for me, from my experience, I can tell you put your knees in certain points, in back of the head, on the neck, you are expecting that person's there's going to be consequences to that, yeah? I don't know what brothers and sisters think, but I was outraged from seeing that. I know in America, in that particular area, there's a lot of riot going on. There are, you know, the communities there have actually taken their anger and they've gone onto the streets and that. They've had enough, and it's not the first time. You know, they've been having it. The black people in America, they feel they're not even a second class, but really, you know, if life is not meaningful to them in that particular way and there's no justice, you know, what can we do? So it'd be nice to hear what brothers and sisters have to say on this. I know the gentleman in question, the police officer, and this is really, really funny because even in BBC, they're saying ex-police officer. So he was a police officer when he's had his knees on his head. Then soon as afterwards, when they expelled him from the force, and now they're saying he's an ex-officer. But I don't really care because he was an officer. He's still a police officer. Maybe he's not on duty, but definitely I think he should be charged for murder first degree. Yeah, not third degree, first degree. But you know, I don't know what people think. What do people think?
Yeah, no. The way, subhanallah, let me just collect my words because my blood is boiling, to be honest, right? Like, this isn't the first time. We see time and time and time again how, without any fear, how the police force in America just killed black people. They just killed black people.
I just couldn't imagine how the other officer right next to him, you know, just allowed it to happen. They could tell he's killing him, yeah? He's got his knees right behind and squashing him, like putting his weight on. I mean, it was a big police officer, not a small, skinny police officer, you know?
This is this is one level of discrimination and racism that has been going on for centuries, and it has not changed. A lot of people, you know, are saying slavery is over, this is over, and that's over. The names themselves may not be used in these days, but the actions and the acts of those times are happening, right? You know, if you take, like, just, you know, people as sarcastic response, because, you know, after so much oppression, people, you know, they don't know what to do. Sometimes people just laugh about it and everything else, right? The trauma is so much. You know, there's a color chart people use when a crime takes place. So if you're lighter skinned, then you're going to be mentally unstable. It was an accident. If you're darker skinned, you're going to be, you know, a mugger or a terrorist, you know, so on. This is like, you know, people might put that up sarcastically, but there's a serious point. If you look at how, you know, was that guy's name Dylan Roof or something? You know, when he shot about 9 people in a church, black church. You see how the police arrested him? They were nice to him. You know, didn't even put the handcuffs on too hard. You know, and look how they treat black people. Completely different. Okay, completely different day in, day out. But even if you look at President Trump's response, and this is the thing that people, brothers and sisters, you need to understand. Trump, do you remember, like, you know, there's obviously riots taking place, and I'll talk about riots and people who condemn these riots in a minute. But so there's these riots taking place in Minneapolis, right? But do you remember, where was it, in Georgia or another state, where these white guys with guns and everything else invaded the governor's house? And do you see, like, Trump, the way he tweeted about that, these are good people. been, deal with it. These are good people. And he tweets about what's happening in Minneapolis is these thugs, right? They're not good people. They're thugs. But hey, I'm white. I've got a machine gun, and I'm going to break into the governor's house. Hey, and I'm a good person. But I'm black, and I've just witnessed a black person being killed by a police officer for absolutely nothing, and I'm protesting, and I've become a thug. So the point I'm trying to get to is the racism is properly instituted. It is not people calling each other names. There's a system that is in play that is making sure that black people are treated in such a way, in disadvantaged way, and this is happening all the time. And you see it all the time. If it's not like, black people being killed, it's like how they're being discriminating against and marginalized. Do you remember, what was that basketball player who took the knee? His name's gone out of my head. Brothers and sisters, if you know who I'm talking about, put it on the comments. When he did that, the whole country attacked him. He was being... No,
it wasn't a basketball player. It was an American football player.
Oh, American football player. I thought it was a basketball player. But yeah, okay, American football player who took that knee in protest of all of these discrimination. And look at how they attacked him.
James King or something.
I don't think it's that. Anyway, I can't remember his name. But anyway, so this, how many times do we have to see it? Like live, like being killed. How many times do we have to see it before it gets taken seriously? How many times?
Right, so the conversation on our Facebook is getting interesting. So some people everybody's supportive of what's of the sentiments you brothers said, and I echo exactly what you said. It's absolutely infuriating. It's really angry. And I was going to say that the person to blame is Prime Minister. It's the president. Sorry, we got a phone call.
Paula, Kalam.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Yes, brother. Who's calling? Where'd you come from?
It's Mohammed calling. I'm calling for the competition. And the guy the I think he was a baseball player or a football player. Sorry, Colin Kaepernick. I think, yeah, that's the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's.
You want to play the yes/no game?
Affirmative.
Hey.
He's saying affirmative.
Who do you think you are, Captain America? Affirmative.
I'm the real Daroon.
Pipe down, lad.
You want a challenge?
I
think you went last time. I'll go this time.
You go, Azadba, you go. I'll time it. What is it? 1 minute, yeah?
Muhammad.
Azadba, you taking revenge for the call the other day.
What call the other day?
Don't be like that, man. I didn't recognize a mate from 24 years ago. You can't remember a call from the other day. The call from the other day, the Sainsbury's lad.
Hey.
Yeah?
Oh, right. Nah, you forgot. You guys are getting old, short of memory.
Listen, don't insult me and say I'm old, okay? I am ancient. I am the caveman, right? Okay?
Okay, you're a legend.
Yeah, so don't tell me I'm old. You can say I'm ancient. All
right. Ready, steady, on your marks, get set. Tuku, ja.
Muhammad, can you hear me?
I'm listening. I can hear you.
What's your name?
You've already called my name.
What's your name?
You've already called my name.
Are you a man?
Affirmative.
Are you sure you're a man?
Positive.
You sound like a woman. Are you sure you're a man? I'm going to ask you again. Third time.
My dad would say negative.
Okay. Okay, that's a 10-second break. Right, so Muhammad, you still in school?
I'm listening. You're wrong.
Hello?
What did you say?
Can you hear me?
What did you say?
Like, is there an echo or something?
I can hear you now.
All right, okay, let's start that again. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear me, bro. Can you hear me clearly?
I can
Hello?
hear you.
You said I can hear you twice, by the way.
I never said it twice.
You got done, bruv. You can't repeat.
Over, time out.
I never said it 3 times.
Oh, did we say 3 times? Okay.
I think so.
I think Muhammad, you done well. You done well. You done well. You can go through to the next round. MashaAllah, well done. Important thing is you go to our EasyTalk page and message us privately, not on the page itself, but messaging through Messenger. Your name and telephone number, inshallah. Anything you want to say, bro?
No, thank you. Thank you for airing some of the issues. And I think what you're talking about right now is very important, because there's a lot of, Muslims of, black background, and they want to hear, a different spectrum of Muslims speaking out. And, it's very important we don't stay silent on these issues.
Well, bro, I was going to say, irrespective of Muslim or non-Muslim, where there is injustice, we have to raise our voice, and that is our principle.
100%. And that involves what you guys are doing. So, that's a lot for that.
Hello, Fikum. Muhammad.
No, I was just gonna say, like, on the Facebook, there's a little bit of a discussion about, somebody put down Black Lives Matter. Yeah. There's a movement for Black lives. Right, so somebody else has put down, no, all lives matter. And they're asking, look, what's wrong with saying Black Lives Matter? And then the brother's saying, well, what I said, like, all lives matter, it complies with Islam, and I'm not white, and I meant what I said as it complies with Islam, i.e. all lives matter. So is it wrong for us to use, Black Lives Matter?
I think this isn't a simple conversation. And so, brothers and sisters, just try to understand this. So the issue that we're trying to deal with here is one of institutionalized racism, okay, where primarily black people are being killed, as we just mentioned, George Floyd being the latest in that, yeah. There's also other things going on in the world, like in Kashmir, in Palestine, in East Turkestan, in Rohingya, the Rohingyas rather, in Burma. So there are other things going on. So now, these other things that are happening, okay, they're not necessarily happening because of institutionalized racism, okay? They're happening because of oil, because of economic power, because of ideology. It could be so many other things, right? It's not necessarily racism. So our conversation at the moment is to do with racism. Of course, from a Islamic point of view, every single life, whether they're Muslim or not, every single life is invaluable. Okay, you cannot put a value to a person's life. Okay, that's how sacred a life is. Okay, so there is no disagreement there. It's really important that when these discussions happen, that we don't start creating a competition. It's just like, if I was talking about Kashmir now and someone said, oh, bro, why aren't you talking about Palestine? It's not a competition. I'm talking about Kashmir now because maybe something happened about Kashmir now. Or maybe it's on my mind at the moment, okay? It doesn't mean I've relegated or I've negated the cause of the Palestinians. So I just want to say this, brothers and sisters, we have to be very mature, because otherwise what happens is we get into a rabbit hole, and before we know it, we're having a ding-dong. Black lives matter, all lives matter, what is it, this, that, and the other, let's not get into that.
Yeah. You're right, Brother Azad. I think personally, I don't think we should go into the issue of if Black Lives Matter or not, because we've got to be honest with us. How many of us know about the history and the oppression of Kashmir? How many of us know about the political history and the victimization of the Palestinians? We have an onus on ourselves to go and research and study and learn about these kind of things as well. And equally, we also have to learn the suffering of the black communities, that the suffering that they've had. And also, you've got to understand is a historical context to it as well. So it's far more bigger than able to explain in 2 words. Now, I've sent a link if people are going through the thread on Facebook. Yeah. Now, everyone should take the opportunity to. She's on the YouTube. She's really famous. Jane Elliott. Okay. Who has heard of the blue-eyed and the brown-eyed theory? Yeah. Now, she's kind of, from my perspective, I think she's bang on. Yeah. She's saying that no one is born a racist, but they are conditioned and cultured to be
They're
racist.
taught.
And it starts
Racism is taught. Yeah, it's taught.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's so important that you have to understand that there is a power relationship in this as well. And this is why she used, white children in her experiment with blue-eyed and brown-eyed and reverse the situation. And I would request all our brothers and sisters to kind of go and research about her, look at what she's been saying. Her experiment is quite shocking and very revealing as well. It's sad that the policymakers are not taking that into, because they don't want to admit, because the first thing is about denying the history, is about denying that people were racist, because they need to justify that they're correct and they're right all the time. Yeah. And what she's saying, no, sorry, we've actually taught through our culture and history to look at people differently. Yeah. And this is why people of non-color, without realizing, they can be racist, but they need to look at ways of how to deprocess themselves. I've seen it so many times. People, they basically, they're doing things and they've got the power relationship. Just to give you one example, yeah, we're even in the UK, we're asking this question about why is it that the BME community are on the higher rate of the COVID-19? Is it an institutional? Is it the way that the NHS hasn't looked upon and wasn't ready for it? Whatever. There's so many discussions happening on that level. So as a society, globally, the phenomenon of racism hasn't gone away. It just manifested itself in a different way. What we're seeing now in America, the far right wing is really, really projecting itself in various different forms and shapes, and they're normalizing a lot of things. And I think it's right time now that Muslims from whichever country we come from, we need to be able to speak out for the injustice that's taking place. Now, the black communities are going to feel this is a black issue. That's their perspective. We have a universal one. Wherever there's injustice, we'll speak for it against those kind of forms of injustice. But I saw the trademarks, the way the police officer dealt with the victim. These things happen in other countries. Yeah,
no, exactly.
These things happen in the same method of same training that some of these police officers are getting abroad. Okay, they're bringing in methods of training into the American states, and it's being applied now. And now black people are victims, and other people are victims as well in the way they.
No. I think no, it's not been applied. Now I agree with you up to where you're saying it's been this kind of method of restraining has been employed for many years, for decades. It's not something new.
No, the brutality, and I'm speaking specifically in the way he used his knee as a special movement that people use in order to restrain people, and it's called a slow death. Yeah.
Oh, no, in social media, there's a fantastic post of Palestinians say, because he says, "I can't breathe." And the "I can't breathe" sentence is trending because Palestinians and victims of state oppression or brutality are saying this. They're posting pictures of them in the same hole, in the same lockdown position. The Israeli military with Palestinians, Indians with the Muslims or the Kashmiris, different places, different people are posting it to say it's the same oppressors. Even if you look in the Quran, the method of oppression may differ or may change according to time and space, but the oppression is similar. You see what I mean? The method, the way, the manner of oppression is similar. And this is the point, that racism is not anything new. And I would blame President Trump, because President Trump, as the leader of the nation, the way he speaks about black people, the condescending manner in which he addresses people of other colors, the Mexicans, all of that, he is giving green light to these attitudes. And there are some posts there that says like, oh, racism has always been around and it's not increased, it's just people are recording it more. No. Attitudes are shifting because people in power, in influence, and in positions of
coming
respect
out. Basically,
are normalizing.
it's in your face now. It's always been, but it wasn't in your face.
I just want to. I don't know if you brothers have been following the news on that. But obviously on social media, a lot of people are disgusted by this. You know, people from all different backgrounds, all different faiths. You know, they seeing this person being killed in that form of brutality. Has Boris Johnson said anything, or is there anything like Mr. Johnson raising this as to his best mate over there on the other side? I mean, has he said anything?
He's too busy defending Cummings, isn't he? He's not going to say anything.
For a minute, yeah. Listen, Abu Musa, you're right. This is Easy Talk, and you can have an opinion, and you're fine. And no one's actually going hard on you, bro, on this. I think what you did is you raised a really important question, and I just wanted to kind of answer that. And I think, look, brothers and sisters, Muslims, okay, like Abdul said, we have to have a universal approach on this, okay? And that universal approach is that, look, wherever there is injustice, we have to speak out against it, okay? And the way we deal with injustices is from our deen, okay? Yes, like, you know, black people are going to feel that there's racism and everything else, and black people who are not Muslims are going to deal with it in a particular way. But we as Muslims, we can't follow that. We have to follow what the Islamic guidance is on all of these things. So it's really important, and it's not just about racism. It could be about other types of oppression. It could be about what's happening to the Uyghurs, for example. It could be anything, any number of things. We always have to go back to what the Quran and Sunnah says how to deal with it. And that is really, really important. Why? Why is it important? Because this is what will ensure that there is not this competition and there is not turning on ourselves. One of the ways colonialism, racism, all of this oppression survives is it turns the communities against each other. So many of you have heard the term chaiwala, okay, and brown sahibs and all of these things. These are people who did the bidding of the British, of the colonialists, yeah, where they basically, you know, facilitated the oppression and everything else. Now, these people happen to also be sometimes Muslims. They also happen to be sometimes Hindus. They also happen to be sometimes black and everything else. So they come from different backgrounds. Now, to deal with that kind of behavior, okay, if you just take a secular approach, what's going to happen is then, before you know it, your face, your kind of attention is going to move away from the actual structure of oppression to actually people like other Muslims that are raising other issues and things like that. So it's really important. I just want to kind of get that clarity out there that, you know, we're not here to shut down anyone's opinions and everything else. No, it's really
and we're not here to lecture as well. So obviously, brothers and sisters out there, you know, you can make your mind up. I mean, let me give you one reading, please, if you can. It's all social theorists must read this book here. If you want to understand about history and its historical context, read the book by Edward Said called Orientalism. Yeah, it lays a foundation. All universities, it's like one of the fundamental books that they have to read for social science. Yeah, it kind of highlights how the West and the colonial time came together and the forms of racism, how they looked at the others as well. Yeah, so if you do get a chance, I know it's a hard read, but it's a must. If you read that book, it'll give you a bit of an insight, inshallah. You've got to make your own minds up, and the knowledge is available out there for you.
Right. Kalam, messages.
So yeah, so there's loads of messages, I think. There's loads of messages. Everyone are entitled to their opinions. This is quite interesting. When one of us loses a child, all of us feel that hurt. Vicarious trauma is an integral part or aspect of motherhood. So that's that. And then Nasima agree. Why do people get so triggered by BLM? Stop hijacking the cause with Every Lives Matter. I've seen posts on Facebook regarding this matter and the now infamous quote, "I can't breathe," being compared to the sufferings of the Palestinians at the hands of the IDF. It is a norm for them. Is this fair in this current situation? Look, I think the only thing that I wanted to add on this discussion is that, you know, one of the things that the Prophet ﷺ stood up for was an anti-racist agenda. If you look at his close companions, you have Bilal radiallahu anhu, who was his close, intimate companion, his muazzin. Bilal was the first person to actually stand on the Kaaba, on the roof of the Kaaba, and proclaim Allahu Akbar, and give the adhan on the day of the conquest of Makkah. Bilal was the one whom, you know, after the Prophet ﷺ died, he couldn't give the adhan anymore, and he was choking. And Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, the grandchildren of the Prophet, encouraged him to give adhan. And you know, he was the one who gave adhan in Makkah, in Medina, and Baytul Maqdis as well. And then you have Khabbab ibn Arat, and then you have the adopted son of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Harith ibn Sayyidina Harith radiallahu anhu, who was also black in color. And then, you know, the Islamic history is covered with amazing black people. Baraka Ayman, the caretaker of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the woman who looked after the Prophet when he was a little kid, the black woman who used to clean the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Black people and glory and success and achievement and leadership and mastery over the religion is synonymous. So the religion of Islam does not distinguish between black and white and Arab and non-Arab. It distinguishes, like we said earlier on taqwa. And really, you know, when in Ramadan we were talking about how we need the Muslims to step up to the level of the deen. On this, we need to step up as well, because we can talk about black and white and everybody's equal in the sight of Allah and all of this, but in our own lives, in our lives with our families, are we implementing that? If a black man came for the hand of your daughter in marriage, would you give her it freely, or would you feel a little bit of discomfort in your heart? How do you react towards black Muslims in your community? We need to remove these jahiliyyah imprints in our hearts. We really do, because Rasulullah SAW said that few things will remain in this ummah until Yawmul Qiyamah, and one of those was racism. You know, racism is a difficult disease to fight, but we need to fight it, and we need to combat it, and we need to be on the right side of this in history. Otherwise, you know, we'd have let the ummah down.
You know, just like the challenges that we would face as Muslims, like, you know, the waswasa of shaitan, you know, that we will carry on making mistakes and committing sins, the kind of injustices. There are certain things that you know, will exist all the time, and like until the day of Qiyamah, like Kalam says. But really, look, this dunya is a test for us. This is the key thing, isn't it? It's a test. So how we deal with these challenges, how we actually approach these challenges is the only issue here. Okay, so we can't help but get emotional. And you know, it trauma, like Kalam, the message you mentioned earlier, you know, there's certain kind of trauma that you cannot escape. Okay, this is normal, but how do you react after that is really the key. And I think this is really important. With any oppression, knowledge and understanding is the key thing. That's the first thing. If you don't really know the issue that you're dealing with, you can make things worse. Okay, and that's why, you know, people who work with Prevent, like, you know, Prevent is a government policy, and they think it's something that's good because it's stopping people from being radicalized and, you know, doing X, Y, and Z. It's all nonsense, okay? It's not stopping anyone from being radicalized. It's not stopping anyone from being extreme. All it's doing is adding that structural form of racism against Muslims. Okay, it is shutting down Muslims, and you have Muslims that are doing this, and they will kind of you know, say, oh, we're doing a good thing, and then what happens is we as Muslims, what we do is we turn a blind eye, or we're okay with them. You know, I've seen some of these Prevent wallahs, right? They have now jumped onto this BMTV bandwagon, and they're like working with sisters I know that have not, they would not touch Prevent, but they're okay, they're working together. Why? Because it's a common cause. This is the mistake, because what you've done is you've normalized into our community someone who is harmful for our community. That's what you've done. And now when you go away and do your other stuff, this woman has now been given access to the community, and what she's going to do is she's going to push Prevent. And who facilitated that? You did. So this is the first lesson about structural form. Please, brothers and sisters, try to understand structures. Okay, understand how structures work, how structures co-opt people to then infiltrate the community and then kind of keep the oppression going.
I was going to say you were going to mention those who are critiquing the.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have problems with people, and I just said that how you react is really, really important. But I have problems with people who jump onto another bandwagon, which is then they become, oh, your reaction must be really holier than thou. Okay, so you have to always give a little bit of space. When Colin Kaepernick protested on his knee, what happened to him? The whole of white America went mental. Okay, the MAGA white America, I should say, actually went mental, attacking him. He's a traitor. He's this, is that. So no form of protest is acceptable. This is really, really important to understand. Now, when people go onto the street, do you think they went there to first, oh, let's go to the street and let's start burning things down? No, they didn't. They went in there to protest. But what happened? They were then push, and then it got out of control. But even if they did go out there to do a riot, okay, the question is not for you to ask, hey, why are you guys coming out on the street? Why did you riot? That's not the question you need to ask. You need to ask, okay, what caused the situation that led these people to come to this conclusion? Because to get someone to commit
the critiques will ask you, and they say, well, are you endorsing violence then?
Well, I'm coming to it. First of all, violence, okay? Violence, who has the right to violence? It's not the state who has the right to violence only. It's not organizations that has the right to violence only. It's not the individual that has the rights to violence. Violence, everyone has a right to violence. If someone came into my house, I have the right to use violence to defend my house. Right? So it's not about justifying violence or not. It's about understanding what...
It's a legal term, isn't it? Violence is a legal term. There's a legal definition to the word violence.
No?
Yes.
No. It's not just about it being a legal term. It's about how it's manipulated.
No,
okay?
But what I'm saying is there is a legal definition of violence. When you say you have a right to... the thing is... Legally, right, you had a lot of laws, right? You had many laws that legally allowed you to be racist, to treat people as second-class citizens, okay? To hang people just because of the skin of their color, right? It's not about laws and everything else. Don't fall for this mistake. Okay, when we talk legal, you're talking about secular law. Okay, you're not talking about the word of Allah. Okay, it's really important. Okay, so by what they do is they look at the police officer that killed George Floyd. His argument is going to be my legal right to use violence to refrain him. That's his argument going to be. You saw how like 6 or 8 police officers beat another man to death, black man to death. They all got away with it, right? So it's not about legal or not, okay? And don't fall for this trap. These terms, they've been created to shut you down, to stop you from being free to express yourself, okay? It's not about legal, it's not about justice, and it's not about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. It's about, okay, this incident has happened, okay? It's not happened just in isolation. It's not like, oh, last 10, 15 years, we've not had a single black man being killed by coppers. No, it's not like that. This was a rare thing. No, this is a systemic thing. It's been happening day in, day out. Every single day it is happening. Okay, so there's going to be a point where people think, okay, you know what? Nothing's working. What do I do? What do you give advice to those people at that stage? What do I do? Be patient. What is it? How are they going to be patient? So I don't think we need to. It's not about justifying one or the other. It's about understanding that people who like Trump, call these people thugs, is to demean the protests that they're doing. But people who have guns, broke into someone's house, guns, right? They're good people.
Okay, I mean, can I pose a question? I mean, obviously we all feel bad about this, and I'm sure brothers and sisters out there, we all feel bad about this. What can we do as UK, from the UK? What can we do? Is there anything we can do to kind of like provide support or, put pressure? Are there things that we can do?
Yeah.
I don't want to just watch him getting killed and not.
No. course, look, you know, we can't affect change in America from here. We can't do that. But just like we were talking about the misogyny and how brothers are treating women, it's about how we deal with it as individuals. Okay, so we have to root things out from ourselves first. Just like Allah says, save yourself, your family from the fire. We need to save ourselves from these types of habits or discriminations or you know, things that are wrong amongst us in that concept. So, for example, sometimes we may act in a discriminatory way. I'm not calling anyone racist or anything else, right? I'm just saying sometimes we might be discriminatory. It's okay for us to choose, like, you know, I want to hang with this person. I don't want to be that person's friend. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm saying when we, through our discrimination, harm someone else. If we are doing those kind of things, then we need to stop. That's us, me. So I need to think and sit down and think, okay, Azad, in your daily interaction, when you're talking to people, when you're doing your work and everything else, are you harming any people? Are you harming women? Are you harming black people? Are you harming, you know, how is your actions being put, you know, affecting these types of people? If I then think, okay, you know what, my actions are quite neutral and it's not targeting everyone, then alhamdulillah, it's fine. Mm-hmm. If I find actually, you know what, me doing programs like this is actually harming these people, then I need to check myself.
Kalam, I just want to ask you, you know, so on the day of judgment, yeah, if I harm other people, obviously things I do wrong, or if I don't do, you know, maybe Allah will forgive me for that, yeah. But if I harm other people, I've got to ask those people for forgiveness, isn't it? Am I right or wrong? You're not supposed to ask forgiveness for the people that you hurt?
Kalam.
Yeah.
I think you froze.
No, I'm just pretending. No. I'm still thinking about, you know, I get what you mean about law and violence and legal. So are you saying that, Azad, because it's secular law, the American or Muslims shouldn't pursue a legal avenue for secular justice, if you like? So this policeman did this. Shouldn't the Muslim community join movements or organized attempts to bring him?
No. What I said was in the context of when you said violence is a legal term. I said it's not. We should not accept violence as a legal term, the secular term, because what that would do is constrict you, because then they will say violence is the right of the state. Violence is the right of the police. Violence is the right of this person, that person. And before you know it, you're only seeing white people that are allowed to use violence. Okay?
Yeah.
This is the second thing is, look, you know, you have to operate within the confines of that you are. You're not in a position to do anything other than to use the legal system, the law over there to get a semblance of justice. Okay? That's
a semblance of justice, exactly. Yeah.
And
no. Sorry. So I was just trying to get, you know, get that clarity. I think sometimes is needed, because we have to, you know, about when a Muslim carries out injustice against another person, be he or she Muslim or non-Muslim, they have to ask that person for forgiveness, and they have to return that injustice that they incurred on them. If they don't, then their tawbah isn't complete, and they will be punished for that in akhirah. Simple as that.
Or you might have to give your good deeds to them, or take their bad deeds as well. Am I right?
Yeah, the situation is actually quite scary. So a person has much good deeds. He's full of good deeds, and he's feeling quite confident about himself going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his hisab, right? Because he's got loads of prayers, loads of sadaqah, all of that stuff. He's got it there. He gets to the hisab, and then he wronged another person. Not once or twice, several times. So that person now comes, and because he didn't fix it in the dunya, he's now starting to take away that mountain of good deeds from him. And then lo and behold, he's run out of good deeds completely because of wronging people. So he's lost all his good deeds. He's on a balance now. The man can't take any more from him. So what does he do? He now gives him some of his bad deeds. So where he was confident, you know, he was confident that he's going to get to Jannah. Now he's receiving the bad deeds of another person, the person that he had wronged. So doing dhulm, doing injustice, backbiting, cheating on somebody else has such a severe consequence that it could be the cause of our downfall in Akhirah. So it's really important, the point that you've just made, as Abjubai.
Yeah, Nassim Ali has made a really good point here. Is we also need to address the racist issues within our own communities.
Actually, Nassima, you want to put your glasses on? It's a girl there.
Sorry, Nassima. Jeez. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Nassim is also a good name.
Yeah, he's a nice fella, that Nassim.
No, it's a really good point. There's two things I want to separate here. One is, just like we said, racism's and oppression is going to be around. You're never going to get rid of it. Okay, you're also going to have people who are going to have discrimination. They're going to discriminate. It is something that is always going to happen. The thing is to limit it and make sure it doesn't harm people. It doesn't stop people. So that's really important to understand, that this is going to be, you know, if sometimes people think, okay, you know, we're going to find a solution, it's all going to go away. No, it's a continuous thing. It's constantly you have to do. So the example you've given is that, you know, mixed race your child is, and people from all ages say, oh, why is your kid's hair like that? Okay. So yes, people will say these things. Sometimes they say it to have a dig at you. Sometimes they might just say it because they just
curious.
Curious. But you're right. So now, how do we deal with it? Number one, brothers and sisters, is we do not generalize. Okay, I've seen people put posts on, oh, the Asian community need to check their racism. The Arab community need to check their racism. You know, when whoever uses these terms are also a problem. Okay, because what they do is generalize an entire community. Okay, this is the same thing that the white people do against black people, right? So first of all, like I said, everything is from the Quran and Sunnah. So how does Allah create humans? Does he create one human being better than the other human being? One gender better than the other gender? No, he doesn't. He creates all mankind equal. This is the starting point.
And lays the balance as well.
Yeah, and then what happens is our upbringing then starts developing discrimination and culture and all of this kind of stuff. So how do we deal with it within our community? Is where it's happening, we deal with it. We do not blame our entire community. That, you know, like for example, I don't accept people when they say white people are racist. Why? Because not all white people are racist. Okay, yes, there are some white people, but that doesn't mean you can't use the term like white privilege. I'm not talking about that. So in our own community, don't generalize. That's number one. Number two, when these things happen, you have to educate. Education is really the cornerstone for this. Okay, there's a lot of people who, because of their ignorance, because they don't really know, they have certain attitudes. Because remember, I said God created all of us equally, but then we were brought up with prejudices. So they had an upbringing that's made them think like this. So you need to just clarify that. And this is the best approach. The next thing is, look, there is going to be, and you have to accept that, there is going to be some people who are going to be racist. And they include Muslims, they include white people, they include black people, they include brown people. Okay? So it's not that, like, you know, I know we're talking about racism against black people. It doesn't mean that there aren't black people that are racist. They are. You know, I dealt with the case in Ramadan of a black man being racist to a sister. Okay, so it's not about that, and this is really important. It's not about generalizing any community. So let's be specific. Okay, when we see it, something that is racist, let's say this person, this incident, and everything else. Keep it specific. When you do that, then what happens is the people around that person will see the issue. But if you generalize it, so if you say, like, you know, all men are scum, then I'm going to think, well, wait a minute, why am I scum? Do you see what I mean? So then you lose my support. So remember, this approach is really, really important, inshallah. Nasima, it's for your getting your name wrong.
And also I think and going back to the point that I was trying to make is like we as individuals and within our sphere of influence, because remember we're all shepherds and we're all responsible for our flock, so every single one of us have power and have influence over certain people, big or small, the group of people. We shouldn't accept racism within our circles of influence. We shouldn't tolerate it. We should be promoting, taqwa is a possession for whoever can have it. And we should be choosing our friends and our relations based on piety, based on good moral, based on good upbringing, and color and skin shouldn't be a part of our narrative. And again, if we hear it and see it within our, because, I hear it from, some of the murabbi, some of the elders, they've got this, like you said, prejudiced upbringing and misunderstanding. We should correct them, and we should definitely not pass that down to our children and the next generation, because that will only perpetuate this vicious cycle, which is not acceptable in Islam. We said, remember the last thing, in his last sermon, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that a black person is not better than an Arab, and an Arab is not better than a non-Arab, except for piety. So it all comes down to piety. And like I said, some of the greatest scholars, mujahidun, muhaddithun, mufassirun, some of the greatest people were slaves, were black, were non-Arab. So
and women.
And women, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
No. So I think, look, we talked about two really big issues here, and I think the key kind of thread in both of those issues is holding on to principles that are from our deen in dealing with these issues. Otherwise, what we're going to do, brothers and sisters, is we're going to make it worse for ourselves and that situation. So let's we'll have more conversations about this, but let's try to at least take away some principles in this. So first principle I want to kind of give you all is when you see something that you feel is wrong, is oppressive, like say the knee on George Floyd that killed him. Yeah, when you saw that, okay, you obviously naturally, your fitra, your nature said, oh my God, that is so wrong. How can that have happened? He just murdered that man for nothing. Okay, so this is your feeling. Now, when you saw that, how are you going to then your reaction you can't stop, because that's emotion, right? That's happened. Then the next step is how you're going to deal with that. What is it that you're going to do to deal with that? Now, a lot of people, what they do is they just react, swear, scream, write something on social media, and then they move on. This is the mistake. So the first principle is, if you want to fight injustice, start developing patience. Now, that patience isn't keeping your mouth shut. That patience isn't folding your hand. That patience is to understand how oppression works and then work against it. Okay, oppression has a mechanics. Okay, and if you want to bring it down, you have to undo those things. You have to find its pressure points. You have to find its weaknesses, and you have to go for those things. So develop.
It's not an overnight thing. That's the thing, isn't it? It's going to take time.
Can't do overnight. So develop that patience to understand how to dismantle an oppressive injustice that you see. Okay. The second principle, brothers and sisters, I want to say is you can't save the world by yourself. It is really important to understand that. You can't change Jack by yourself other than what's in your control. Okay? Once you understand that, then, what should I do? The question, what can I do? The question is easier to understand. Yeah? So if I see racism, if I see misogyny and everything else, I can't necessarily stop all of these things happening everywhere. I can participate in campaigns, that's different. But where can I affect it? Like what you were saying before, Kalam, about certain elder generations, they have a mindset. Now, we have to correct that mindset. But more important than that is we have to ensure we don't pass that mindset along. Now, if I can stop it in my generation, in my family, that's one family that's kind of been saved from that mindset. But if now, I don't know, there's about 30, 50 of us here. If we all manage to do it in our households, can you imagine the bigger change that's happening? So that's why that individual responsibility, that understanding of your power, your influence. Okay, where is it? Who are you? You know, who can you influence? Really, not, you know, who can you talk to? Who can you really influence? That bring that change. Identify that and then bring that change there. That's where it happens. Okay, those are the 2 points that I want to kind of mention.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Shall we finish the show then?
Yeah, I think we can finish the show. Yeah. Abdul needs to say anything.
Yeah, it was good. I was like, I was deeply saddened, like when I saw that incident. Yeah, because I knew what he was doing, and I could tell that look, that guy's not going to survive the way he had him pinned down. Yeah, my gut reaction straight was, what can I do? And my mom went blank a little bit because there isn't much you can do. I mean, it did come to my head. Okay, well, like maybe do a call out, maybe get all our friends who cycle. We're all going to cycle down to Parliament Square and do a visual or something like that. Block it all off, like in a peaceful way. Get the helicopters to see it. So that Mr. Donald Trump from America can see that London's like mourning for this in a very peaceful way. But then I thought to myself, well, so I did ask friends on that. I asked them, like, are they doing any protests and things like that? And I remember it's COVID-19. So people, might believe I might get arrested and taken away or something like that. So I didn't kind of like make those kind of noise or rattle the cage in any form. But yeah, like on a serious note, yeah, I mean, it is quite serious. I think one of the things we should do is look at how the system is unjust, abroad, in the UK, globally as well, and how people are being victims of injustices. And fundamental principle is myself, what can I do to hold on to those principles, and what can I do to kind of like challenge those in whatever means that is appropriate to us within our faith and our value. Yeah. And the least thing we can do is hate it in our hearts. The least thing we can do is hate in our heart, yeah. And as Muslims and people who've just come out of month of Ramadan, this particular incident, there's many other incidents happening across the world as well. We just need to be the voice so that we can actually highlight those, inshallah. Yeah, it's quite sad. I'd like to see what happens to the police officer. I'd really like to see him like.
They already just charged him with third-degree murder. Do you get it? So it's like manslaughter.
Manslaughter.
Well, let's see.
So the thing that my thing is, look, outside, we've just come out of Ramadan and we're confronted by several issues of quite serious, of serious nature. So this issue you have there, and then you've got the whole COVID-19 issue and the frenzy of the government to try and encourage people to go out again and to try and mix, as they're doing this in such a rush. One fears that there's an attempt to push this herd immunity thing again. So there's other challenges internationally and locally. I think Allah is testing the Muslims. This is you've come out of Ramadan, you've had a brilliant Ramadan. Everybody's saying it's been an amazing Ramadan and we've connected with Allah. Well, was that superficial or is it actually deep and meaningful? Are you standing with the truth? Are you shoulder to shoulder with justice? Are you supporting causes that are just and fair? And or are you just going to go into your shell, go back to your normal selves and just be that quiet, small, unconcerning Muslim? That's the test, really. And I think we have to stand up and we have to be counted for. Remember what we said, that even if you're the single voice that is shouting out for truth and justice, that is going to be a witness for you. That's the main thing. We need to do it. We need to stand up for it. We mustn't accept it. It is from this racism is from Jahiliyyah. It's from the Prophet ﷺ described it as from Jahiliyyah, from the filth of Jahiliyyah, Asabiyah, like tribalism and racism. All of that is disgusting. It's unacceptable, and we shouldn't be justifying it at all. What do we do practically? I think there's lots of in this country, a lot of celebrities, sports people have been tweeting and posting on their social media posts. We need to join that movement and that noise, and we need to actually pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives these people, the black community and in America, Allah supports them and gives them the justice and gives them brings justice on what happened. And we should be very careful that we don't, whether it's by jest or by ignorance, perpetuate this racism down and pass it on to the next generation. We need to be very, very vigilant about it within our own lives and our own families as well.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, so just before we go, a couple of things. Khaled and Muhammad are through to the next round of the yes-no game. So inshallah, next week we're going to have another kind of round of the first, and we'll see how many we get to go into the next round. So next Friday is our next show. I think Musa is asking, are we on Sunday? No, we're only going to do this once a week, every Friday. So brothers and sisters, do get your messages out there. Friday evening, 11 o'clock. If you're going to go out, you can go out, come back, and then just chill with us, inshallah, and enjoy the show. If you're watching this on record, we're going to be, again, like I said, on Friday. But try to watch us live because it's much better. It's interactive, and you can call in with the yes-no game. So any mistakes we made is from us, and any goodness that's happened is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On that note, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum.